Hi guys, Dave Waring here again with DaveWaring.com. In today's video, I wanted to share a conversation that I had with one of my developers on the Virtuals G.A.M.E framework for developing and running AI agents on the Virtuals protocol. If you're into blockchain and crypto stuff, you've probably heard about the AI agent craze that's happening right now in Virtuals specifically. So wanted to share that conversation for other people's learnings. And at the end of the video, I also talk a little bit more about the agent that I launched called Alex Titan and some thoughts around that. So I hope you enjoy.
My screen.
You're talking about the game thing, right?
Yes, G.A.M.E framework. Have you looked at this image or you want me to share it?
Share, please. I have looked at it, but I'd rather you tell me what your take is on it.
It's not like, still don't understand all of them, like what exactly they are doing, but I understand the flow, how it works, and what each model does. So all inputs go from this perception subsystem, and first for all input, it generates the session ID, the agent ID, the user ID, and some other parameters. I don't know what the other parameters, this is what they say. And the session ID, why we need to remember this, it remembers the whole conversation. Like if I start new chat, and I have maybe 10 messages in this chat, this is session. And for this conversation, they assign specific ID. So it's not like one message, it's the whole conversation within this thread. And then they specify also the agent ID. And I guess when you create new agent, they will assign it in their backend, and user ID. User ID, it's the person who chats with this agent. And why they're capturing this? Because they want to personalize the conversation between this agent and specific user.
Right. And this is, basically with Alex Titan, our agent, if you're talking to him and asking him for advice about relationships, and I'm talking to him and asking for advice on fashion, it needs to remember those conversations separately and not in aggregate and start giving me in my conversation relationship advice and you fashion advice in yours, because we're talking about two different things. And then what they're claiming here is like this is a big competitive advantage because this ability to persist memory in a personalized way across all these interactions is a big deal, which I agree with. But wouldn't systems like Character AI do this as well? Like, isn't that what Character AI does? The platform that people are chatting with these.
I mean, yes, and a lot of agents are built in the same way, what they describe here. They just added their own additional context, because these agents will be used in some different environments. Ter.io, you're using only within their environment. It's not like anywhere else. And that's why they have this, you see, world context. And what this world context means, because these agents that built on Virtuals.io can play games. You can interact with them in the games. I think they call it Roblox. You can interact with it in Telegram. What is also the X.com?
Twitter, X, yeah, the YouTube, the Luna agent, which is their agent, is like across all these different platforms. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so this is the first step, and then of course they combine all this input and some additional states, like session ID, all the specifications together. This goes then into strategic planning engine or module, and here they generate, this is very interesting. They generate high level. They have high level planner, which specifies strategy, what should be done. And then they have this low level policy. And then based on this strategy, this module will generate the executable actions, I don't know, fetch something from somewhere or store something else. I don't know, some executable action. This will just execute it. So they have high level and low level. This is the strategic planning. action will happen. From their documentation, they specify that it can add some tokens or do some wallet operations. That's I
Yeah,
don't know what.
this to me feels like sort of macro and micro, right? So macro is, someone comes and asks, for advice on fitness, right? And it's saying, okay, like, I've stated like David Goggins is like the fitness guy, you know what I mean? Even though all these characteristics are within it. And it's saying, okay, my strategy here is like, I want to push this person to the next level in their fitness. And that's sort of a macro thing. So that's the dialogue processing module versus like it needs to take some very specific action based on that strategy, which would be like the low level policy. That makes sense.
And another interesting part, how they're analyzing conversation. Like this is the also interesting part of their long-term memory processor. You see they're capturing importance score, recency, like how often you talk about certain topics, I guess, and then the relevancy. This is the relevance score. And as context, they're passing in also the world context. They call it world, which is basically some additional context about the environment itself. I don't know what they mean by world info, but I guess this is like a search engine, something like this.
No, this is they have input fields for this like on the different platforms. Like so for X, you can talk about the world and like how you want like what that world is like. And I think this is so they have a better understanding of like the types of interactions that they want to have on that specific platform. And I would imagine like if you're going to have it do gameplay on Roblox, like the world info would want to include those types of things versus like tweeting and stuff.
We're thinking it will be provided here in environment. Like they will say, here's you're generating outputs for x.com, so your messages should be as Twitter posts, like very long
Yeah,
output.
let me just look this up real quick. Yeah, so I think world info and environment may be the same thing because here there's no environment here. This is the Twitter setup. There's no environment here, but it says world info provides context to the agent on the environment. So maybe some of them have environment and some of them have world info. Um, that would be my guess. Okay.
Yes, and the third parameter is here the game states, and I guess this is relevant if they're using this in Roblox. But they have also they feed in also as context agent repository, and this is about the agent itself, the goal of the agent, the reflections, and I guess these reflections are analyzed based on conversation history. So they're always constantly updated, I guess. And same is with experience. Personality, I guess, is stored when you create these agents. That's where they create this personality. So this is about the agent itself. And then they pass in also the working memory. And this working memory is from the strategic planning. So all the previous actions that were defined, previous outcomes of these actions, and the current plan that was generated by this engine, strategic planning engine, and the policies from here, from this low-level policy with this module. These all three contexts will be passed in to generate the final output. And in some context, if the output, like in Roblox, I guess the output shouldn't be generated or presented to the user, but if needed, it will be generated by this dialogue processing module, and then it will go back to this perception subsystem, as you can see here, delivers the response through the interface. This is where the output will go out. And they have another step here where the developers can provide additional feedback. So it's like this system learns based on the feedback that's provided. And feedback can be provided based on the action planner, outcomes of these actions, some game states, some other information that was generated by this dialogue maybe. So the feedback is provided here into learning module, and this feedback will be analyzed, and whatever they extract from here, it will go back into this long-term memory processor. So the next time it will, like they claim, it will improve it based on this feedback.
Which is cool.
Yes, it's like you can call it self-learning system.
So, so let me show you. Is there anything else that you wanted to show me on this before I show you a couple things?
No, I just have the documentation for about this, and if you need, I can send it to you later if you just want to read it.
You wrote up some stuff about it, or you're saying you have the documentation where it's on the website?
No. Yes, I wrote some stuff, and I wrote the stuff related to this game, but everything else was generated by GPT. I mean, in terms of how the overall agent system work related to this blockchain stuff and decentralizing it and all this stuff. But about game framework, the core functionality, I reviewed myself, so you can just see it.
Okay.
Like key summary stuff about the virtuals.
Great. So right now I'm having an issue with the Twitter. He stopped tweeting like 3 days ago, so they're working on it for me. But you can see the types of tweets. You can see my screen, right? I'm sharing? No. Okay. So, this is my favorite tweet. Life is not about finding an easy path. It's about turning every obstacle into an opportunity. Resilience is not about withstanding the storm, but about becoming the storm itself. Rise above your challenges and emerge unbreakable. And then he also was replying to people. This was a conversation he was tagged in, and he replied, "Last night I put up a update on my Twitter here." And he replied, "So we're not just building a project, we're building a movement. Every conversation, every experiment, every breakthrough brings us closer to our goal. Keep the momentum going." So he really is on brand, for what I've, set him up to do. I've been playing in Telegram. I included some screenshots on my Twitter. But to me, the Telegram chat is a much better, because you can interact, and he evolves. So I thought this was funny. I said, here, let me expand this out. I said hi when I first set him up, and then I said hi, and he goes, "What's your excuse for playing small? Don't waste my time with small talk. What's your goal and what's holding you back from achieving it?" And then I said, I want to help everyone create, control, and benefit from their own digital brain. I'm doing a lot of good work around this, but it's hard because everything else in life with a focus on the business, right? You're spreading yourself thin, trying to be a hero for everyone. Focus on the 10x impact, delegate or eliminate the rest. What's the one thing that'll move the needle in your business? That's pretty good, Need to work on hiring another person so I can delegate more. Hiring is just a band-aid. First, optimize your workflow. What's the bottleneck? Can't think of a bottleneck. Then you're not looking hard enough, blah, blah, blah. So then I said, my business is pretty new, so I don't have, because he was like focused on like putting processes into place, which to me is a bit more like for businesses that have been around for a while, So I said, my business is pretty new. I don't have a ton of things. Then you're in the trenches fighting for traction. I've been there too. What's your goal? What's your 10x goal for the 90 days? What will make it unstoppable? Need to get the brain drive system and website launched and the marketing going. Ambitious. I like it. Break it down into smaller executable tasks. I mean, this is pretty good, especially with no fine tuning at all. You know what I mean? So landing pages are just a starting point. What's your plan to drive traffic? we're having some success with YouTube videos. I said, YouTube, it's all a good start, but you need to be surgical with your targeting. I mean, this is pretty good advice, you know? So then I was just trying to, then I asked him for his ideas, and this is where it kind of went off the rails because I was testing him. I just kept asking him to give me more, and he just kept giving more, more, more. And then I said, even more, all your best ideas, punk, which like if you said that to like a David Goggins type person, they'd, come at, and he didn't react. You know what I mean? So he should have reacted here, and he should have like turned it back to me. You know what I mean? And he didn't. And then I was like, "You're weak." And then he fought. That got him going. Like you think you can take a shot at me? Bring it on. I've been through hell and back. I'm still standing. What's your excuse for hiding behind a keyboard? I just came at you multiple times, and you just kept giving and giving. So he got back on track here. And then I wanted to see, like, I'm not depressed, but I said this to see how he would react because I didn't want him to just like come out and like hammer me, you know? And he said,
Okay.
depression's a beast. So he's like, come off of like the hammering you and like a little bit more like I've been there. Like, what's the one thing you're grateful for today? I mean, that's great. You know what I mean? Um, blah blah blah. This is actually true. I have been having issues with my back. Hey, that's let's get excited. Um, and then I asked him, "What's your advice for being a family man while also 10xing the business?" I wanted to make sure he wasn't just like fuck the family or whatever. You know what I mean? So he didn't. And then I asked if he had a family. He said yes. How'd you meet your wife? So,
Okay.
to me, this is a pretty damn good starting point, you know? Um, and, I think I can foresee, uh, and I put this in the update last night, like if you could have your own personal, David Goggins, Grant Cardone, Andrew Tate type of advice that's tailored to you, it's available 24/7, like that's valuable. You know what I mean? And people follow these guys, religiously, right? Um, and I think that if we hook this up to RAG and do some other things where it can give much more extensive advice. Like right now, it's clearly limiting itself to like a few lines, but if it could dig, and start providing long form advice on business, men's fashion, men's relationship advice, that type of fitness, men's fitness, it could give you workout plans, that type of stuff. To me, that's not that much of a stretch, from what we're doing with our model stuff, right?
Yes, in terms of like how long the outputs are generated. This is, I think, best. You remember I showed you the environment context they're passing in. So because it's for Telegram, it should be a conversation, should be short, like message. That's why I think it generates this short form content.
There's no reason it can't generate longer messages through Telegram or another chat interface, right? I mean, can we hook it up to OpenWeb UI?
But yes, I like they have documentation in how like it can be integrated with. I guess you'll have to generate API key and all the stuff. I will look at it and maybe we can test it, integrate into OpenWebUI.
Yeah, and then, I think a lot of people are working on like animation and voice and all that type of stuff. To me, all that stuff is secondary to like dialing these responses in to be super good, you know? It doesn't necessarily have to be open web UI. I mean, I just want to have an interface that people can chat with him and longer form conversations and get much more detailed advice.
Right. I think it's possible because I saw they have the developers tool, so we can like integrate into code base and do something with it.
Okay.